Hi guys, and welcome to Maltbox, the non-chill filtered whiskey blog. I'm Andy, and this is Whisky Review 107. This is also the second part of a three-part mini-series around drams that I had at the start of my whisky journey. Whiskies that are accessible, are affordable, and that you can easily pick up online, given the current circumstances across the world. Now, it is an incredibly popular blended Scotch whisky that I have for you today. It is, from memory, the fourth best-selling Scotch whisky across the globe. That whisky is this. The Chivas Regal 12-year-old from Pernod Ricard. Now, first off, I appreciate that this has been reviewed millions of times. I am not the first person to review this whisky. I will not be the last. I think everyone's got to do a Chivas 12 review because it is one of those whiskies. You see it everywhere. You can get it in the supermarkets, you get it in bars. No matter where you are in the world, it's a bit like Johnny Walker. Chances are, if they've not got Johnny Walker, they'll probably have a bottle of Chivas. Now, this is a blended Scotch whisky. Now, to those of you that know, that's fine. To those of you that don't, what that means is that that is a combination of both malt and grain Scotch whiskies. The fact that it is a 12-year-old indicates that that is the youngest spirit in the bottle. That does not mean it's an average age. That 12 years old is the youngest whisky that went into this blend. Now, this usually retails for around £30 to £35. However, I picked this up on Amazon for £20 about 3 or 4 weeks ago because I just finished another litre bottle of Queen Margot 3-year-old because I've been absolutely smashing the highballs during lockdown, and I thought, you know what, I'll pick up a bottle of Chivas. It's on offer. I want to review it for you guys anyway, and I want to see what it's like again. I've not drunk this whisky. This is the first bottle of Chivas 12 that I've had in 10 years. 10 years. That is a long time. And what I'm quite excited about when it comes to exploring these whiskies again is to see how much they've changed and also to see how much I've changed. So this whisky is bottled at 40%. There it is, there's the label again, so 40%. It is chill filtered and it will have added colouring. At the end of the day, this is a mass market product. It has got to look and taste the same on a shelf in Shanghai as it does in Skegness. It has to look the same on the shelf in New York as it does in Old York here in England. Maybe that's what I'm going to start calling York now, Old York. So with that in mind and the added colour, I'm not going to spend any time whatsoever on the colour because this is fake. It has no impact on my experience. Some half decent legs starting to run down the glass there. Now, Pernod Ricard are a huge company. They are only just behind Diageo, both in terms of GWP, so basically their value, and also the scale of their distillery operations. They've got a lot of distilleries, very well-known distilleries. For example, the home of Chivas 12, or Chivas Regal as a brand, should I say, is Strathisla Distilleries, a distillery in Speyside. So what they try and do is, it's a bit like Blair Athol is the home of Bell's, apparently, because that is basically one of the core components, and it's one of the main malt distilleries that goes into it, and it's basically something you can attach it to, like Glen Turret and the famous grouse. So, on the nose. It's very light. I think for me those grain whisky elements are quite apparent. Grain whisky tends to be a lot lighter. It offers a bit of vanilla. It's slightly astringent. Very delicate. There's like icing sugar in there. There's some red apple. There's a little bit of maltiness. a little tiny bit of caramel sweetness. And this is going to sound very, very strange, right? It's going to sound really, really strange. This smells like new plastic carrier bags. So when you go to the supermarket and you are given one of those plastic bags, it smells like one of those plastic bags. That sounds very unpleasant, doesn't it? But that's just what I'm getting. And interestingly, it's what I've always had in this whiskey. I had that years ago, the last time I tried it, or the last time I bought a bottle. And funnily enough, I put this under my wife's nose a couple of weeks back, and she said exactly the same thing without even prompting. So that's really, really interesting for me, because she's just started getting into whiskey. It's taken me 14 years, but she's finally starting to get into whiskey. So I like having somebody to bounce thoughts off. It's quite cool. And again, on there, I get that apple, I get that maltiness. There's a little bit of pastry in the back. But for me, the overarching flavours in there is that kind of like caramel sweetness, the light vanilla, the grainy quality, and also those carrier bags, the plastic bags. On the palate, now unsurprisingly, the mouthfeel isn't anything to write home about. It's chill filtered, it's 40%. There's some really nice notes on the palate, however, around some spice, possibly a bit of cinnamon, a bit of nutmeg. There's also, again, that pastry and apple combination. You've got vanillas, you've got more spices, you've got toffee sweetness, maybe some butterscotch going into the finish, which incidentally is quite warm, medium length, possibly a little bit of black pepper on the back. Again, a bit malty, some cereal notes, the vanillas, the butterscotch, the apple. Arguably, there could be a tiny, tiny little whiff of smoke at the back, just as it goes into the finish. I'm not talking Lafroig or Lagavulin or Kilchoman, just a tiny little bit of depth to it, just as it goes into the finish. I mean, at the end of the day, I've already said, this is a mass market product. It's a blend. It's got to taste consistent. It's got to look consistent. This is not a whiskey that is going to blow you away. It's not going to be the best whiskey you've ever had. It's not going to be the worst either. I can assure you, this is certainly not the worst whiskey that I've ever had. However, I think it's probably a little bit inoffensive, but again, that's what they're going for. They're going for sales at the end of the day. I use this quite a lot in those highballs that I was talking about before, so that's whiskey and ginger ale. It's an affordable blended whiskey. It's an accessible blended whiskey because you can pick it up in supermarkets, you can pick it up on the internet. And it's a well-known brand. People will be attracted to it. It's a very well-known brand that have a good reputation for consistency. They've got a good portfolio of distilleries under their belt as well. So there you go. A pretty well-rounded, inoffensive, durable, quite flexible whiskey. You can use it in cocktails, you can drink it straight, you can drink it with ice. Again, going back to what I said in the last review, drink it however you want it. Drink it how you like it. Whiskey's there for you. You're not there for the whiskey. You're not there for people to tell you how to drink or live your life. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. I appreciate this is not the first review of Chivas. It's a rite of passage, but I think every whiskey reviewer and every whiskey blogger's got to do it. But again, it's been quite cool for me to revisit this and see what's changed. And if I'm honest, not much. It's still as I remember. So, please do feel free to subscribe if you like what you've seen here today. I do this for you guys. I only record these reviews because of the interaction and you know, feedback that I have from you. Really enjoy interacting with you all. If you'd like to check it out, I'm also on Twitter at Maltbox. I'm also on Instagram at Maltbox Whiskey. Thank you very much for watching, guys. See you soon.